In the previous video, I outlined a daunting astrological landscape for Governor Andrew Cuomo, with the most glaring problem being the Pluto-Eris dual pressure on his sun sign ruler, Jupiter, in Libra. A resignation in the next short while due to the pressure he's currently under from the general public as well as his own party is unlikely due to his well-known hang tough bulldog character, but the planetary pressure he's under could still be enough to force his hand. Now, suppose he hangs on. I mentioned the October multiple planet stations of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto would then be the next super intense moment. Of these, Saturn and Pluto are challenging and extremely challenging respectively, with Pluto representing the likely bigger threat. But I lumped Jupiter into the mix when in reality that October station of the great benefic, in most cases Jupiter, would be what he can actually pin his hopes on. His Jupiter at birth is not free of the problems of expansion, the archetype it rules, because at birth it's square his Venus, and this is what will fuel his arrogance and too big to fail and be wrong attitude. But Jupiter is still Jupiter. And basically, if you're in a planetary cycle storm, it's often going to be a Jupiter-friendly, supportive aspect that you'd be looking for to save you from doom. The station in October is in the 22-degree Aquarius range, putting it in a trine to itself in Libra. And this tends to be enormously helpful. And since it is in the 25th degree range by early September and still there in November, it means there is a 3-month swath that might save his skin. The problem is that what I also said about the switch of Jupiter into Pisces by January is not helpful at all. In fact, it's the very opposite. And since Pluto and Eris are still agitating all through 2022, well, that's why I continue to be skeptical about Cuomo's prospects. To be honest, outside the astrology, my assessment of what I see and hear in the news, just using my life-given senses, tells me there is too much smoke for there not to be fire on the scene. However, if I were his astrologer and I was responding to a wish to buy time and remain in the job at all costs, no matter what, then I would tell him that if he can hang on for his life for another 2 or 3 weeks, then there is going to be at least a somewhat decent chance the cycle of Jupiter could keep him afloat for a while. But I would also tell him that as we move toward the end of the year and into 2022, the planetary situation downtrends badly. Of course, it's also true that my sense of this guy is summarized by taking note of one of his greatest strengths and simultaneously greatest weakness, meaning determination on one side of the coin with mule-headed stubbornness on the other, together with deep thinking and often very clever Mercury trine Pluto, which would likely incline him to ask questions, one of which would surely be, well, doesn't Jupiter go into Aries in May of 22? Isn't that good for me? To which I would have to say, yeah, it would be. To which he would likely reply, well, if I can hang on through this fall, why can't I hang on from January until May then? To which I would have to say, good point, Mr. Cuomo, maybe you can. But would also think to myself, I don't know, man. There's too much red action on the scene. I think that sooner or later this planetary siege is going to get you.